Hello, everyone, and glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to anyone who is just now joining us for the first time. It's time for my monthly thank you reading again. So, this is the one where I'm going to do a fairly typical reading for you, like what you would usually see on my channel. But then I'm going to follow up with the extended, but it'll all be one video. So that's why this one's a little bit longer. So if you look at it, the extended video is usually about 30 minutes long. So that's what's tacked on to the end of this reading. It's just going to be the reading and the extended all in one big thing. And it's part of just me saying thank you to you for being here across the month, across all of the months. Thank you, and giving something to you that ordinarily would have more of a cost associated with it, more of a cost attached. And so I like to do this once in a while just to say thank you. So, as with the other months, we're going to do a Soulmate series reading. Kind of like yesterday, we're going to see what wants to come out, only today feels a little bit less focused and a little bit more like we can look at the overall picture. So, I feel like yesterday was one of those really intense readings where, I woke up and knew there was something that just needed to come out. So, this one's going to be a little bit more okay. So, let's back up a step and look at that big picture. And so we're going to start out by looking at your energetic backdrop. And so this is going to be kind of the current energy between the two of you. Um, and so, as you guys know, I put that first card out there and it gives us kind of that first layer of energy. And then I'm going to come back and clarify to get into that next level. But then when I clear all the cards and I'll shuffle back into the deck, and then I'll do the extended reading, and you'll be able to see the tower. Okay. Well, glad we're doing the extended in front of you today as part of the same reading today, because it looks like we're going to have some things to talk about. So in your current energy right now, that current energy between the two of you, in your energetic backdrop, we have the energy of change. So this is a significant energy of change that has the potential for some pretty significant emotional upheaval attached to it. So that's going to be interesting when we go into clarify, because what I'd be curious to understand is if this is towers on your individual sides, or if it is something that is happening more within your energy. So let's take a look at how your person is feeling about things. And this is how they're feeling about you, how they're feeling about the situation, just kind of, and it's today. It's what they're feeling today. So we've got the Four of Cups. What I'm feeling here is awe, this sense of awe. Just, kind of thinking back to some of what they know and what they have known about you, some of the times that you shared. There's a nostalgia associated with this as well. But what it really is so the Four of Cups in the upright is a card of disappointment. It's a card of not being very impressed, not being very happy about things, just kind of not being real interested. In the reverse, though, it's coming out as the opposite, and it has, like I said, that sense of awe attached to it. So that is also going to be interesting to look into and to clarify. Let's see what sticks out most about the situation right now between the two of you. And in a minute, we're going to look at some extra energy that's impacting you. So this is not that question. This is what is sticking out the most, which is important when we take into account that your current energy is a tower. So somebody's not feeling very, I guess, emotionally independent, stable in their energy. The Nine of Pentacles is a card of emotional independence. It is a card of feeling confident, standing on your own 2 feet. Sometimes it's a card of being single, but in this case, it's not so much being single as that ability to be, that independence, and the ability to have that independence and to be single, that level of independence, whether you are or not. You could both be married, and some of you, that's the situation. But the fact is, there's an emotional independence that each of us has the potential to carry, and you can do that inside or outside of a relationship. So here, what we see is feeling like there's not that emotional independence, and it verges on a sense of almost codependence. So if this had been a Queen of Cups that came out in the reverse, I would say, a lot of times that one verges more toward the codependence. This one feels like it's just interdependent, but it's verging on codependence. So we'll take a closer look at that. But that's the thing that's sticking out about the situation the most right now. So this is basically somebody not having all their ducks in a row. Could be both of you, but it's emotionally not having all of your ducks in a row. So it's not necessarily going to show up in that everyday life, but it certainly could. Um, so now we're going to look at that critical energy that's acting upon you at this time. So the reason I differentiated between these questions is because I had somebody call or email me and ask if how should I think about those questions differently, and we talked about it, but basically, that what's sticking out about the situation the most is what's sticking out about your situation the most, whereas a critical energy acting upon you at this time could be coming from pretty much anywhere. And we've all right. I've been seeing this Ace of Cups come out in readings here lately, whether it's personal readings. I think I've seen a couple of them here on the channel because sometimes it's hard to differentiate. They all kind of follow this general pattern, but I don't always remember which reading is which. So what is happening here, though, is this is that ability to have a new flow of emotion. It is a new flow of emotion that seems to be happening almost like whether anyone likes it or not. It's like the springtime coming. That's just something that is going to happen regardless of anyone's opinions on it. The world is still going to turn, and the rotation and the revolving is still going to happen. So it's something that continues, and it's almost like you guys don't have control over it. um, just like, again, we don't have the control over the revolution and the rotation of the earth, but we have usually some idea of how we're going to handle things as they come out. Here's a situation where you're being given information that new energy, new emotion is ready to flow, and it's a matter of, okay, let's see how you're going to see how you're going to deal with it, which is significant, especially when there's this energy that's sticking out the most about the situation right now with this emotional sense of dependency or not feeling quite independent, and there's something that's a little bit missing there. So let's take a look into the hidden energies. Maybe get an idea of what you can't see from where you're standing. What can't you see from where you're standing? And we've got two cards that wanted to come out. So again, it's that sense of, okay, so there's a lot coming, and I'm saying again, and I'm realizing that I didn't tell you what I was thinking before. So there's this sense of all of these options coming out, but it's been a little bit cloudy. Okay, it's difficult to understand which of the options to choose when there is confusion in the mix. So you may have a hard time interpreting the options. You may have a hard time figuring out what is actually available to you, and that's a little bit what is happening here in the hidden energy. So the way that I have typically been asking this question lately, it's been about what is in that energy that you don't necessarily know, but if you did, it would help to clear up a misunderstanding. And so this is exactly that. So it's that feeling of, and this is more on your person's side. I have options. I'm not sure what they are. I'm not sure exactly how to interpret what's in front of me, and I'm afraid to get into any of them. But what I would say is that this is coming out of the way that I'm asking the question and the way that it is coming out. This is your person's energy, but I just want to say this very strongly ties to you as well. So, and when I say that, I mean it should maybe even resonate with you as well, because we keep getting that instruction for you to look for that exciting new option that's out in front of you, and it may even be one of the options that's in you know sitting directly in front of you, but maybe it's hard to identify as such. That is exactly the same sort of energy that I'm getting here with the Seven of Cups. Lots of options, they aren't super clear. But with your person, I'm also getting the sense that they are disinclined to jump in after anything because of that lack of clarity. But there's also this sense of, okay, but everybody has to watch out because there's this new energy that's coming in that allows the feeling to really blossom and allows it to really flow. That feels like there's a lot going on, especially with the current energy of the Tower and that tumultuous emotional energy, as well as the thing that sticks out the most is, hold on, I'm a little bit off kilter. And of course, your person is feeling quite impressed with you and thinking about how things have been in the past, thinking about memories of you in a nostalgic way. So that is all going to come into kind of an interesting situation for you. So, before we jump in to clarify, the last question I want to ask is what you can be doing at this time. Like, what would be the best thing for you to be doing at this time, given all the rest of these circumstances? And let's see what wants to come out for that. We've had some really interesting things come out for you here lately. I've been asking the question because your lessons have been such a prominent part of these readings as they've been coming out, and so this question really speaks to those lessons and allows us to get in a little bit deeper within each reading where we ask the question. I mean, I feel like things are coming out anyway, but it's helpful to directly ask, well, what can you be doing? So we have, again, this Ace of Pentacles a couple of times now that it's come out. It's meant this advice about keeping the door open for your person to come walk back through it, but not guarding the door. So, with it being in the reverse, though, what it's telling me is that you're having maybe a harder time getting the door open for your person. So, it may be that there is something left for you to resolve on your side. And I think we're going to look at that when we go into the extended. What else could you be doing? And of course, we'll see what comes out when we clarify, but um, it feels like there's something that has to happen here before you can open the door to your person, and you may feel like, hey, I've got that door open as much as possible, but there's something here that still creates some sort of obstacle or some sort of barrier, and so we'll take a look at that when we go into the extended. So first, though, let's get that medium level of energy. This is like that. I go in and I kind of get that. We pull off that first layer, and now with the clarifiers, we're going to get in a little bit deeper to understand what it is that we want to ask when we get into the extended, which is of course attached to the end of this reading. So I'm just going to pick the cards up, and we'll do the extended right there. So looking at the Tower first, let's see what we've got for this Tower. This is really always an interesting card when it comes out because there's always something happening with it. All right, so this is a Tower that has big implications. It is the Seven of Swords in the reverse. This is about your own self-trust. It has to do with, it's bouncing off of this energy of the Nine of Pentacles that's saying, hey, I'm not really feeling like I'm fully in control of my surroundings. I'm not feeling super confident about things. I don't have all my ducks in a row emotionally. And for those of you for whom that's a weird idiom, basically it's just being organized. But not feeling organized emotionally, like not having that emotional support that comes from within. So there's a desire not to confront this Tower. And it's not surprising to me. I've seen in so many recent readings, some of them even on this channel, the Tower keeps coming in reverse because people are saying, okay, it isn't that I don't want to find solutions. It's just that I don't want to do it right now. Like, this is too big of a thing to pick up right now. So that's what this Five of Wands is all about. There's some resistance to this change, but it's not because the solutions aren't desired. It's because it's so hard to do it. Plus, with this sense of self-trust is going to come in as this Tower plays out. But as the Tower begins and that energy just starts, it's really uncomfortable. So the fact that this is coming is very nice, but you have to work for it, and it's not an easy thing. So that's part of what makes this such a tumultuous energy and not something that you just slip into easily. But there will be a point here where you realize, hold on, there's nothing else for me to be afraid of. I'm already doing it. Just wait for that. There is a sense of I'm already doing it that's going to come up for you, and that's going to be very gratifying. It's going to be the time when you realize that the Tower can simply dissipate. That feeling can simply dissipate. Let's look into this Four of Cups, because this current energy between you it's the energy of something happening right now, but the way that they're feeling about things, like they're actually having a lot of nostalgia and memories about you right now. So there may have been a point where there was some less of that. Out of all this, we want one card. There may have been a time where they were actively trying not to think of you. And we've seen some of that in previous readings as well, where they were trying to keep their mind off of you because they weren't prepared. But we've also seen in some recent readings that your person's been making some progress. It's not uniform progress, though. So as they move forward in some areas, there are still some areas where maybe they haven't developed, and those things maybe still hold them back. And that's what creates some of this resistance here and an unwillingness to just jump into something that's going to have such positive results. But with the way they're feeling about you, there's a lot of remembering wonderful things, but also realizing that they didn't truly take the opportunity to invest when they should have. And yet, you are this just everything to them. So the world is the last card in the major arcana of the tarot. It starts with the Fool. So this card here, and that's card number 0. And it goes through, there are 22 cards of the major arcana, and it goes through to number 21 because it goes 0 to 21. It's 22 cards. 21 is the world. And the world is that happy ending. It's the end of a cycle and the completion of something. Okay. And so you are the when they have arrived, that's the sense that they have with you. You are that, sometimes I say it's the end all be all feeling. That is very flattering. It's a card that you want to come out for somebody that you want to be with. So if this is somebody that you do ultimately want to be with, and some of you are saying, no, I don't want to be with the person, I just feel tormented by this, I'm just trying to figure out how to do this piece where I allow things to happen, where I allow, and am accepting of my life path. That's a hard place to get, and we're looking at that. But as we look into this, we start to see what some of the things are that are maybe in the way of that. Um, and yet, this feeling that your person has for you is just so positive. So, um, you can feel the fear associated with it and the regret over here associated with the 7 of Pentacles, which usually isn't a card of regret. Sometimes it's a card of timing. Sometimes it's a card of a lot of different things, but it's a lack of investment, and it's a regret around that lack of investment. I think when we get into the extended, we'll take a closer look at this one too, just to kind of see what's happening, especially in light of this. So we might take these two cards or these two piles and pull them together for one of the questions in the extended. Let's see what comes out here, um, for this 9 of Pentacles in reverse, because this is what is standing out the most about your situation right now. And it's like a lack of confidence. And oh my goodness, all the okay, so if you guys have been off making progress, which we know you have, and we know from the last readings that your person has, if you guys have been off making progress, all of a sudden it puts you into this place where you're able to look back on the situation, have very different views of it when you look back. So your person has fewer obstacles between them realizing how great you made them feel. And they're able to recognize those feelings a little bit better, but they're also able to recognize those feelings of regret. And so those feelings of regret, as are kind of coming back because of the feelings of nostalgia. They're remembering things, and then they're saying, "Oh, with this new perspective that I have now, I'm now starting to see where maybe this should have been interpreted a little bit differently. I feel like I've made a mistake." It's throwing them farther off their game. You may be experiencing some of this on your end, but this feels like more of a them energy. Um, so there's this desire to get together and see one another, but there's been a reluctance to do too much of that, and it has to do with a third energy. So, for some of you, it is going to be a relationship or a marriage, or somebody's family. It could be their family that is kind of standing in between, or maybe pulling them away from you. There's that feeling of a third energy. Could be a job. Honestly, this 3 of Cups is a third energy that is impacting you and further pulling apart that ability to feel truly emotionally independent. The memories are doing this, so they're tearing themselves down. And then this third energy is doing this. And, it depends on the situation. That may not be anybody tearing anyone down. That may just simply be the existence of a circumstance that makes things very difficult. Because if they're figuring out that you're their end all be all, for example, and they're in another marriage, that is going to start to create issues for them psychologically, and emotional lack of dependence may be one of those things. Or honestly, it may be, hey, I just realized I can't leave my spouse. It's financial or it's emotional or it's this feels more emotional, but that's one of those senses that comes in with this, and that's not going to be everybody because not everybody is here to look at the energy around a person who is married. For some of you, you're the person who is married or in the long-term relationship, and for some of you, it's not about another relationship at all. It is truly about their family, your family, someone's job, things like that. But it's having this significant impact, and but it's like fighting a war on two fronts because it's not just that third energy, a third party energy. It's also this. Every time I think of things, I realize it kind of realize it makes them realize even more that things should have been done differently. So it puts them in this tower energy, just like you are, but they really have a resistance to it, partially because this regret is very hard to carry, despite the fact that if they were to face the music the way, and honestly, a lot of you have been doing the facing the music piece. If they're able to do that, that's going to help to contribute to their self trust as well. You are encouraged to continue facing the music. You guys have been going through a lot of healing, a lot of traumatic healing. Some of the healing itself has been traumatic. And this is an example of something that's maybe not super traumatic, but certainly not on the easy side. It would be much easier to just walk away. And that's what that Five of Wands talks about. So now let's check out this Ace of Cups because I'm super curious about that. This is like a coming energy. It's got that sense of impending springtime, which if you're in the northern hemisphere, then sure, it is about to be springtime, but still, like, what is that? So, what is happening here? This is that energy that's acting upon you. All right, so we've got the Nine of Pentacles, and that is a feeling of self assurance. Just like this Nine of Pentacles is a lack of self assurance from an emotional standpoint, this one feels a little bit less emotional and a little bit more global, but still a sense of self assurance. That's very positive. But what's difficult is that this Hanged Man is suggesting there is still going to be some sense of a new perspective that has to be gained. I'm super curious to understand this. This is a pocket of coolness right here. This energy that's coming has opportunity written all over it and positivity, but as long as you recognize, hey, you just don't have everything you need quite yet, it's not a showstopper. So when we go into the extended, I feel like I want to look at that too. So we're going to look at how your person is feeling about you, but a little bit more deeply, given the rest of what we see here with some this equally being torn down between the third party energy and the pain of the nostalgia that comes back. And it's like it's wonderful nostalgia. It really makes them admire you, but it makes them remember what they didn't do. So we'll look at that, but we will also look at this energy that's coming. This is again what you would love to see coming ideally, but we'll see what it means. Um, First, we're going to clarify the rest of this, though. So, looking at that hidden energy, what you can't see from where you're standing, but something that might help to make you understand something that might clear up a misunderstanding between the two of you. And it has to do with all the options and your person's inability to truly interpret them. The regret around it. Okay, that's what the Five of Cups is telling us, and the anxiety that that regret has caused. Um, so they haven't been willing to jump out because they were basically paralyzed by fear, and they might not even have registered it as paralyzed by fear, but they were looking at all of these options in front of them, not quite sure what they should do, not quite sure if they're even recognizing the options properly, realizing that in the past they have definitely seen an opportunity they did not register properly and did not properly invest in, and now they're paying the price for that. That's what this regret is all about, and this anxiety. And so in order to rectify that, they've got to come back and move toward you, and that's what this door being left open would be all about. So that's about reconciliation. It's not necessarily about reunion. Reunion is you guys coming back together, where reconciliation is the two of you getting on the same page. But we see that in order for you to leave the door open for your person, something has to happen. So it's going to be about, all right, there's a piece around self worth and feeling secure. And remember, we saw that you've made all this progress and you may feel like your door is hanging wide open, but there's some kind of obstacle that is getting in the way of your person moving your direction. So that's kind of the question we're asking. And yes, I still think we're taking this one into the extended. So looking at again, though, this Queen of Pentacles energy. Okay, so it is a nurturing, capable, super duper Nine of Pentacles, and then, even more so energy. So the Nine of Pentacles is that I've got it all together kind of energy. The Queen of Pentacles is heading it all up. The Queen of Pentacles leads the Ten of Pentacles household, which is a that ideal household, with the King of Pentacles. And that can look any number of ways for you. It doesn't even have to be some of you don't want that standard traditional typical household. That's not what you're after. Not at this point. Maybe it's not what you were ever after. Maybe it's not in this stage of life, but it's whatever that Ten of Pentacles means to you. So it may not be, two kids and a dog. It may be something very different. And so this Queen of Pentacles here is saying there's some security within that's not yet, you're not yet available to yourself. You're not yet allowing for that to happen, I guess, and being prepared for that. So we've got the Knight of Wands, which is giving us kind of a very similar energy. It is an energy of being very cautious, I guess, not being ready to jump forward and be passionate about it. Not that you lack in the passion, just that there is this cautious feeling around it. And so there's a caution and a sense of not feeling quite secure that is maybe keeping you as an obstacle from leaving that door open for your person to freely walk through while you're not watching the door. So you aren't even to the point yet where you can get to where you're not watching the door. You have to get to the point where you're truly able to open it. So I think that's where I'm going to stop with the main reading, and we're going to jump into the extended. Like I said, it's going to be all one video. So you guys get to see kind of everything in between, except I'm going to shuffle like super duper intensely. Oh, and before we stop, I was going to tell you, I'm going to go into the extended and we're going to talk about how your person is feeling about you. We're going to talk about this energy, this springtime energy that's coming your way. It's a mixed bag, but it's okay if your eyes are wide open. That's kind of what I'm getting there. And then we're also going to talk about what you would need to do in order to be able to open that door. So, we're going to go ahead and go into the extended reading now. So if you've never had the opportunity to get one of the extended readings before, this is essentially what they look like these days. And they have changed a little bit. I went ahead and I changed the format to allow me to really roll, I guess, a little bit better. So the way that I used to do the readings, it was always getting in, because we're getting in like fewer questions, more cards. We've always done that, but this is like those pop-up readings that I like to do every once in a while. So it's gonna have that sense of it's allowed to roll. I don't know how to say it better than that, but you'll see. So this is what it looks like if you get an extended reading. And what we're going to do is we're going to do all three questions that we talked about in the main reading, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right in with how your person is feeling about you. So this is an extension of what we already saw, and we've got the Death card. All right, so the Death card doesn't mean death. What it means is significant change, and it's not just any change, though. So this is a change that leads you to something special, something new. It's a transformation. It allows for a rebirth in a whole new direction. So you represent that opportunity for a rebirth in a whole new direction to your person. And boy, is that, as we've already seen in this reading and many others, a scary mixed bag. Let's see what else wants to come out for that. Or actually, you know what? Interestingly, I want to pull another one here. So we're going to pull a second card about your person's feelings about you. Ooh, and we've got the Page of Cups. So that's them being quiet. They have some communication that they'd like to bring to you, but there is something that really makes them feel like this transformation, this transformational energy that comes from them and to you is it's really intense for them, but it makes them feel like they have to hide on some level. And so that's what this Page of Cups is talking about. That's interesting. And it's like it was, you just have to grab this. So we've got the Ten of Cups, which we saw for a while. The Ten of Cups was just coming out constantly. We've got the Star. So the Ten of Cups, I'm going to slow down. Ooh, we got to do all of them. So the Ten of Cups is all about something being too good to be true or not, right? And so we talked about it in several of those previous readings that one of the pieces of discernment that you guys were here to learn, and this is on both sides, is what happens when I run into somebody that's too good to be true. I mean, and the answer is, it depends, right? So if you get up closer and you're able to look at it and say, well, I see that this is too good to be true. It's really not as great as I was hoping. All right, good to know. Address it however that means. It's not necessarily black and white. I stay or I go. It's I change my approach based on what I can see. And so that's the level of discernment that you guys have been working in. But for your person, that is a super challenge because they are a little bit a little skittish and a little bit all or nothing. So they've had this. They've got a fear of talking to you, and yet they've got. I'm going to just go right to the King of Wands. They've got this passion for you that is basically unequaled and is really hard for them to not just move forward. They know that this is an inevitable sort of union. There's a lot of hope and just wonder that comes out in them that they didn't even know they were capable of. This is somebody that's, I thought I was an adult, and this has me feeling like some sort of, very young, person who might be considered naive in their inexperience. That's almost the feeling that you give them. So there's a need for healing. Okay, so we know this. I would say there's a need for healing that predates your relationship, and it's on both sides. It's something that your person is very aware of with you. So these are all feelings that they have around you, the feeling of passion, the feelings of inevitability, the feelings of I'm not ready because I'm not healed. And that also that feeling of it turns out this is actually too good to be true because I can't have it. What ends up really happening from your person's perspective is that you represent outrageous amounts of change to them, and it locks them up in a way that makes them unable to communicate out, communicate forward, to move forward. It's just tough for them, knocks them right off of their feet. So this Four of Wands talks about, so the Four of Wands in the upright, it's, sometimes you'll see it described as the marriage card, the 1111 card. That's not what I'm feeling out of it this time, though. What I'm really feeling about it is the stability. And so it's an instability because it's coming in the reverse, a feeling of instability that happens in the energy between the two of you. And it has a lot to do with the way that they receive you. But it also, it's contributed to a little bit from both sides. So we see that ever present feeling of them wanting to make things right, but also this feeling like they kind of can't. So it's like, okay, we've got a whole progression. So they want to make things right. And I know that's not the order they came in, but it's the order they want to be talked about. So they want to make things right, but it's like it's too much of a load for them that they can't carry. So they're just unable to carry it across the finish line. It reminds me of the Ten of Wands in the Tarot of the Dragons, where this dragon like can't get off the ground, and because it's just weighed down, and that's the feeling. It's too much of. It's not they. It's not about their feelings for you exactly, but their feelings for you end up weighing on them because they're unable to simply take action, because it does end up being too good to be true, but they want to make things right. This ends up, and the I want to make things right. I can't do it. I've got this unstable feeling. I'm not, you know, healed enough to move forward with this. And yet I have all this passion. I feel like it's inevitable. There's this definite sense of they can't stop moving towards you, but they also can't stop freezing in their tracks. And that's what this Knight of Pentacles gives us. So the Knight of Pentacles is a card of moving forward in not necessarily a fast way. In fact, the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest of all the knights. But the Knight of Pentacles is slow and steady, and he ultimately gets there. Very dependable, very consistent. In the reverse, though, what I'm feeling is that inconsistency. And it has everything to do with the fact that your person is being drawn, back and forth with the feelings that they have. So they have those extreme, just unbelievable feelings of I have to move toward this person. I have to make things right. We didn't start off the right way. But they aren't ready. They don't feel like they're ready to come back and truly make the best of things. Now it looks like we've got at least one more card we still have to pull for this pile. Ooh, all right. You are unhitching them from the wagon of something that's been controlling them. So basically, there is something very heavy that has been the reason that this feels heavy to them is whatever this thing is that's been controlling them. And so this change, one of the shifts that you're enacting here is allowing them to see it all for what it is and to affect this change. But it's not necessarily a comfortable change. So whew, are we? No, we got one more card. Sometimes it's more cards than others. So with this one, I'm not pulling any consistent number of cards. We've got the Death card that has come out once again, and it wants to sit right with this Devil card. And with that, we are done pulling cards for this one. But once again, it's all about this change. The change is very much in the upright. So it's a change that they realize needs to happen. They now have had their eyes opened. At first, remember at the beginning of the year, we saw there are all of these new truths coming toward your person, but they're having a hard time assimilating them into their lives. We saw their viewpoint on their lives is changing, and in some cases, their actual home life was changing. And they had been put into a situation to figure out what it is that they wanted. Um, they're thankful for that, grateful for that, but not necessarily ready to jump in and make those adjustments. So we saw that with the Nine of Pentacles that was in the reverse in the whole thing is the YouTube reading, but in the previous portion of the reading, that Nine of Pentacles that was in the reverse was talking about, I just realized I'm not ready to leave. I can't do it. There's something that holds them back from being able to walk away. So it isn't lack of passion. It isn't lack of inevitability. It isn't even that they don't want to make things right. It is the weight that they feel like they're carrying. They're forced to be inconsistent because of the stability they don't feel like they have, because of the healing that they haven't done. But this is all moving them in a very good direction. And on some level, they're very capable of understanding this. But on other levels, they're feeling a tower right now. This is an intense time. Um, and, we've got that critical energy that's acting upon you guys. And this is not just them, this is going to be both of you. But remember, we saw that Ace of Cups come out for the critical energy that was acting upon you. And we thought, well, let's get a little bit deeper into this because it is not necessarily a bad energy. It's an energy of springtime, but it's going to involve some letting go. And it is also going to involve some making decisions with less information. And the reason I say that is because we saw that Hanged Man come out in the reverse, which was that's a sense of not having a new perspective that you're ultimately going to have, that you're in the process of working on. So you're operating without that new perspective just yet. But you are moving into a place where emotion is able to flow. So it's now about learning how to coordinate that flow, about learning how to use it. Like you've been given a access to a muscle that you haven't historically been very good with or haven't been able to use, and you're being given new energy flow to that muscle and saying, okay, try it out, see what you are capable of. And a lot of things could potentially come from something like that. But this is new energy being able to flow through the heart chakra that is allowing both of you, because of the work that you've done, to be able to give and receive love, or opening the possibility for it. It's not just going to happen, but the opportunity for you to give and receive love on a whole new level. Now, remember, in previous readings, we've seen for you that you're pretty great at giving the love, but not always great at receiving it. So, this is something that maybe you've been working on. Keep going. Your person has a hard time with both pieces. So, all of a sudden, both of you having that capacity to give and receive love is not necessarily just, okay, I have this and I know how to use it. There's a period of time of kind of trying to get used to it. And that's part of what that new perspective is going to offer you. So, not having that just yet will make things feel a little bit awkward, but it doesn't necessarily mean that things can't move forward. So, let's go ahead and look a little bit more deeply into that, because I want to understand that springtime feeling, because it was very positive, very, you can certainly do good things with this, kind of energy. Okay, so we've got the Ace of Pentacles coming out sideways and wants to stay that way, along with the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords is a card of action, and it is a card of decisive action. Okay, it's very decisive. And so what I get here is there's um, there's the there's the heart and the emotions on the Ace of Pentacles side, which I know it's not cups, but bear with me. And then there's the intellectual sides on the swords side. And of course that makes good sense because swords represent intellect. Typically emotion is more represented by cups, but in this case it is emotion that is driving this sideways Ace of Pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles is, I'm not sure if I'm ready to move forward. I'm not sure if I'm ready to, again, open a door, just like what we saw in the reading earlier. The Knight of Swords says, yes, I absolutely am. And so there's this back and forth sort of feeling. It's time to go. There's this urgency and it's time to go. It's springtime. You have the capacity to allow that emotion to flow. And then there's the, oh, but I'm not prepared for it. I'm not feeling prepared for it. So, we're also going to look at how you get more prepared when we get to the next question over here, all the way to the right. But for now, let's see what comes out, because we've got the Eight of Pentacles, and we're going to use that Ten of Pentacles too. And I don't know how many below it, but we'll see. So the Eight of Pentacles, though, is about, in order to resolve what's happening between the logical side of you, your head and your heart, there is an emotional self mastery that needs to come into play that creates some of that security that we saw earlier is lacking. And so that's part of the reason that door won't open all the way, is that lack of security. We saw the Queen of Pentacles come out in the reverse, and it's something that maybe you've been working on, and maybe even been working on for a while. But that emotional self mastery piece of it. Um, this is something where you can kind of focus very directly. Is going to help you to find ultimately what is that happiness. And we had talked about the Ten of Pentacles household. This is it. This is the Ten of Pentacles. It's that happy household. It's whatever that means to you. And it's, we know it's not going to mean the same thing to everybody, but it's, maybe it's two kids and a dog for some people. Maybe some people have already raised their two kids and they just want a few more dogs, whatever it looks like. But that Ten of Pentacles it's that thing that you decided that you wanted. And it's very much everyone's needs are covered. All of the resources are there, but it's not necessarily an easy place to get to. It's something that we ultimately spend a lot of time manifesting, but we don't get very far without that emotional self mastery. Still, though, there's a recognition of, okay, I'm reestablishing for myself what this Ten of Pentacles energy truly is. And then this Nine of Wands talks about partially how you'd get there. So I almost expect to see this sort of answer over here in the other question, where we're going to ask, what is it that you have to do to get to the place where you'd be able to open that door, like we saw in the earlier reading, and be allowing for your person to walk through it. And it has to do, this advice piece has to do with making it, not guarding walls that don't need to be guarded. I've been saying that a lot with the Nine of Wands. So the Nine of Wands is that wounded warrior sort of energy. It's somebody that's kind of still standing and still there, and some situations it's like the battle is over and there's no reason to continue with this. And there's a sense that you kind of have to recognize that for yourself, though. It's not something that someone can tell you. It's part of that emotional self mastery, and it's part of what's going to lead you to truly understanding what that Ten of Pentacles household is. You're going to be going towards your happiness, and it's still about security. So this piece about security came up earlier. And it feels like it wants to play off of this Nine of Wands and this Ace of Pentacles energy. But this Queen of Pentacles is really still all about getting secure within yourself. So it's inner child work. A lot of times that comes out for me with like the Seven of Swords, but here it's coming out because it is security that you can give yourself because you have advanced to the point where you're capable of it. We were talking earlier about how people they don't heal all in one big fell swoop. They heal in parts and they learn in pieces, and it's not uniform. So there are going to be some places where you've learned enough to move on, and other places where maybe you're still looking to fill in some of that learning and some of that information. And it's going to correspond with your healing too. So as you're working through it, as you're figuring out which walls that you don't need to guard anymore, that's going to help you on the emotional side, which is ultimately what has to happen in order to make you successful in this springtime energy that wants to come your way, that is coming your way. Well, ready or not was the sense that we got. But it's coming your way, but it's not necessarily something that you're feeling fully ready for because you don't have that new perspective all lined up yet. Let's see what else wants to come out for this. And sometimes I just sit there and say, oh, do we want more cards, or is this going to be it? Um, but that was a very clear yes, we need to get at least one more card. Okay. Sometimes I feel like when I finish getting the interpretations out there, it says, whatever, we're done with the cards. Okay, so Seven of Wands. This goes along with the happiness that you're going to be gaining by working on your self mastery. So there's a lot of advice wrapped into this. But the Seven of Wands talks about your level of feeling protected and feeling like you can jump in and fight for what you want. And that's so we've got a lot of honorable mentions here. I'm going to start with just we're not going to lay these out. But the Page of Wands is about the passion, the new passion that comes out when you are able to stop guarding certain walls. And the Lover's card is about realizing that in this situation over here, where it has historically felt like you didn't have much of a choice, it turns out you do actually have more of a choice. But there are some lessons that still need to be learned along the way. So let's see. It looks like we want one more. So we're getting two. So we do want this one. But there's a new message that comes along with it. So it's and these two come together. So remember we were saying that it felt like you didn't have a choice before, but now it feels like you do. But it still feels like a choice that you have to create some. You would have to make a sacrifice in order to come down in a place where both of you would be happy. And that's something that you absolutely have the choice to do. You have the capacity for that. You have the potential for that. But you would have to build it, you have to work for it, you have to manifest it. And so this Knight of Swords energy, this decisive forward action is super useful in that, but only as useful as much as you have defined what it is that you truly want. That's going to lead you towards your happiness, but it's also going to be you no longer guarding that wall because that's you creating an obstacle. So one of the questions that we wanted to have answered here was, okay, so tell us more about how to remove this obstacle. And I think characterizing it further probably doesn't hurt us. So this Nine of Wands, helps us to characterize it a little bit more and just to understand this is something that you have some control over because you can decide you're going to not. I'm trying to get these cards straight. Sorry for all the fidgeting, but it's about not guarding those walls anymore and being able to allow yourself to feel like you have a choice and you're able to move forward. So we're going to ask a little bit more though about what it is that you need to do because we saw this very Ace of Pentacles come out in the reverse saying, hey, your advice is still to leave the door open for this person, but okay. All right. So your advice is still to leave the door open for this person, but with it coming out in the reverse, we saw that that might not be as easy of a thing to do because there's still something standing in the way of doing that, of leaving that door open for them. So what the advice that you're being given is to embrace this ability to give and receive love. So giving and receiving love is like breathing. And so if you have, too much or too little, if you've taken or given more than an equal amount, you can tell it's a definite feeling of imbalance, whether it's your breath or it's emotion going between two people, or going out into the world and coming back. But it's what you put out there and what you bring back in should be equaled out. And that's something that you get to focus on. That is one of the things that you're recommended to focus on. So you've absolutely been given this advice in other readings. However, that's going to help you specifically to be able to open this door, to be able to get past this piece with the Queen of Pentacles. That is the, I guess, expanded self-worth. It's an expanded sense of self-worth, but it is also, how else can I say it? It's that sense of security that comes from inside yourself. And that's why I was saying, inner child work is going to be critical here. So, all right, nope, 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 sorry. I've got to get myself organized here. Um, we have some cards that have the glow and others that don't. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. All right, so we're looking at what you can do to get to a place where you're better able to open that door. And we see here the door opening. We see that as you are able to gather that emotional self mastery to yourself, that door begins to open. But really what has to happen is you have to be ready to receive what's on the other side, and we saw that is what's coming to you. So this Eight of Cups talks about not truly knowing what it is that you ultimately want on the other end, and this is similar to the same feeling of that Ten of Pentacles. You truly need to understand that. So the Eight of Cups is often it's about going off in search of it's going after something, going off in search of something that is, that Nine of Cups. And so, because it's a progression through the tarot, and with the Eight of Cups going to the Nine of Cups, it's about moving toward that thing that creates the wish fulfillment for you, it constitutes wish fulfillment for you. It's sometimes it's walking away, but in this sense, it's walking toward. In the reverse, though, what we have is not necessarily walking toward, not going and making that progress, but it really implies not knowing what that progress is. There is a sense of having to get over a fairly significant hump with regard to either accepting an apology, somebody has to give an apology. There is a communication that needs to take place that is not necessarily with your person, but is, I will say, it has the sense of being fairly uncomfortable, but it is going to be significant in unlocking this sense of being able to love and being able to give and receive love in equal measure. So the Five of Cups also comes out, and this one talks about being able to look at the whole situation and being able to interpret it as a whole. So the Five of Cups in the reverse or in the upright is usually what we'll see is there's a focus on some cups that are overturned, and then there are some cups in the background where there is a possibility, there's opportunity that comes from it, there's potential for transformation. And when we see it in the upright, the focus is generally on, here are the things that have happened that make me feel bad. There's regret in there. It's very unfortunate, kind of heavy feeling. But when we have it here in the reverse, it's a matter of being able to see the big picture, and it's being able to take the good with the bad. So it's not just looking on the bright side, it's being able to also see, here are the things that are maybe not working out so well for me, but on the other hand, we've also got a few things that are. So this is a much more well-rounded perspective, and it's one that is currently hard to come by. I won't say it's missing, but it's hard to come by with you guys. Part of what we're seeing here is, in order to get that door open, you're going to have to really want to open that door. So it sounds like circular speak, but it's really true. It's part of the intention piece. In order for this to work, you're going to have to, and this one, we don't want this one. I feel like I'm waving it around, and it's not part of the reading. But with the Ace of Pentacles, though, it's about that door that you're supposed to be looking to open, in order to leave it there, leave it open for reconciliation for your person to walk through. But it's being hard to open from an emotional standpoint. Nope. Um, and this suggests that you have to also have the intention to open that door. There is a sense that at this time, you have been maybe extinguishing some of the things that make you passionate, because either you didn't want to deal with the pain associated with them, or didn't feel like you were up to it. There's something that is making you not move toward things that could potentially excite you. And we know that we want you to move toward things that excite you, but it also has to do with not necessarily understanding what your options are. So we saw this come out in your person's in what the hidden energy was. We saw the Seven of Cups come out in the other deck, and it was all about, hey, they've got these options, but they can't truly understand what they are. And anyway, you had that same energy. I mentioned it, but here it's coming out for you and suggesting this is something that has to be rectified in some way. Not so much that you have to change up what the options are, but just that you want to get to a place where you are able to truly identify those options. So once again, that passion, this is exactly the passion that was upside down, that was in reverse in the last reading when we were looking at it, because it was this quelled passion. I'm going to put it over here next to the Eight of Wands because it really matches, not just the color because it's wands, but also the feeling. This is, I'm quelling something out of fear. This is that same feeling, except now saying it's it's what we were seeing in the last reading, and basically it was, I just don't have the motivation or the incentive to move forward on this. And I'm allowing myself to not go forward rather than allowing myself to open this door. And it's a difficult place to be, a difficult experience to have. You are being encouraged to open yourself. So just like what this card is saying up here, you're being encouraged to open yourself and stop closing things against yourself. So I dropped a couple of cards, but we don't want them. So this is all very intention oriented. It's about, you're opening up your perspective, you're figuring out what it is that you want. It's again, really truly allowing yourself to see the positives along with the negatives and to truly weigh them for what they're worth. That's going to allow you to evaluate your options better. If you are ready to open this door and you're not going to extinguish things that make you happy, and you are able to kind of allow that emotion to be channeled to make you happy, this is also significant. Um, there is a piece for you that's going to cause you to have to walk away from what you're currently looking at in order to make some resolution around it, to have resolution around it. So this Two of Wands is, sometimes it's more of a crossroads, but in this case it's more of a finding the peace in between two difficult and disparate points. But the Six of Cups is saying, okay, I'm going to need you to not obsess or think too much about what's been happening with your person and with work or whatever's really been taking all your time. I need you to clear your mind and really allow yourself to flow. And that's going to help you to create, remember we said there was an impasse. This allows you to find some distance between yourself and your person, or not find the distance, but find that place in that meeting place in the middle. It's not the act of actively doing it, it's the ability to do it. So also quite significant. But these are all things that are going to help you kind of cross that bridge to get ready to go to a place where you will be able to reconcile. Even though you may not be prepared to reunite and you may not want to reunite, that reconciliation is the closure that you're seeking. And so this is about how you can find it. It's about, no longer getting in your own way, figuring out what you truly want, and then allowing yourself to drive toward that. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. This has been one heck of a thank you reading. And really, thank you so much for everything over the last few months. It's been amazing being out here. I love you guys so much. It's wonderful to read for you. And I love getting out here once a month and doing, a thank you reading and just giving you an extra, extended reading that otherwise, we would have done over on Vimeo. So thank you again. And I look forward to seeing you again in another reading.